Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hooner's Shed. I've got day off today, so I'm going to get some hours into the garage. I'm going to carry on with the engine casings for the moment. There are some other jobs that I can get on with, but I'm going to carry on with the engine casings at the moment. Finishing off cleaning up the new one. I also want to say hello to Peter, PGod1960, who left me some good tips in the last video, so cheers for that, Peter. He did comment on there that you don't underestimate how well you're doing. Like I said, I've got no real comparison. The only other guys that I know that build bikes can strip and rebuild a bike in the same time it takes me to figure out how to take a fuel tank off, and that's not an exaggeration. I'm afraid that's how bad it is. It's going all right. It's going all right. I think you can always want it to go faster, and you always want it'd be nice to have the unlimited budget that you can just go, I'll just replace that. But neither of those is really viable. None of those two really happen. But it's moving forward. Every time I do something, it's moving forward. And I think that's the motivation, along with I've got to get this bike finished, because I want to do some work on the other bikes. I want to do some work on the GSX, on Perry's bike. I want to make some changes to that, just mainly cosmetic, just for my own personal taste. So this bike needs to get done and out, and I don't think I'm going to sell it. I think I'm actually going to use it because it just makes sense. It's a small two-stroke. It does like 1 million miles to the gallon, and with petrol as expensive as it is now, and most of the trips that I do are just short around town, to and from work, that type of thing. So the engines really don't, in the bigger bikes, don't really get a chance to warm up, and you're always running them cold. They just get to warm up temperature by the time I get to the work, or by the time I get to friends or family's house. They don't get a chance, and you're always running them cold. I'm not an expert, but as my understanding of it is that most of the damage, most of the wear done to an engine is done at start-up from cold. That initial start-up from cold, that's where most of the damage is done to the engine. So if you're running, like the GSX, if I'm running the GSX and I'm riding that to and from work, and it's not really getting a chance to warm up, then it's just permanent damage, rather than any free running. So for the fuel economy, this thing is going to be like, I think they're £30 a year to tax, and fully comp insurance is like, hang on, I've got some change. There we go. So it just makes sense to use this as the day-to-day running around a bike, and then save the bigger bikes for the fun stuff at the weekends and everything else. So that's the plan. Use the 125 pretty much all year round, and then leave the bigger bikes for the fun stuff. That's the plan. I don't know how well that's going to work out, but that's certainly the plan at the moment. So we'll crack on with the engine casings today, and we'll see how far we get with that. And thanks very much for all the support, and engine casings. I'll just crack on with it, shall we? So this is where we left it. I'm just using these little furry like doodads on the Dremel just to take this paint off. And Peter did say you can just score it up, and then just so it's got a surface, the paint's got a surface to bind to. And I'm trying to, because I think I got most of it off. The problem that I had with that is that, let's see if we can get this to focus properly, it's flaking off here, and there's some parts where it's got like this. I think I've got most of it off already, so I'm not sure I can show you in examples, but this flake is starting to flake, it's starting to crinkle, and I thought it best to remove that. I don't want to spray over that, because if it's already starting to crinkle, anything I paint over the top of it, the underside is still going to wrinkle, the paint is still going to come off. I might have that wrong. That's just the way that my thought processes go. So it really is just taking most of this stuff off, and these aren't really that abrasive. They take off the paint and the lacquer, but that feels really smooth. So I'll just carry on with that, and then I've got also the plastic engine casing that I can finish off with that one. So I don't know how ruthless I'm gonna be. Yeah, there's a bit there. I've just got this. See if we can get that focusing a bit. No, it's not very good light in here, but it's sort of like crinkled. So I do want to take as much of that off as I can. Maybe where it's not as bad, in these difficult to reach places and it's all still flat and smooth and everything else, I don't need to pay so much attention into there, and most of it's going to be hidden anyway. So maybe I'm being a little bit too fussy there and there, but certainly for the main visible parts I want it to be nice, a nice finish, or as a nicer finish as I can manage. So we'll just carry on with that today. I'm not going to bother videoing me sitting here with a Dremel cleaning all this stuff off, because it just doesn't make interesting viewing. And if you want to see that, I did include about a minute of footage of me doing that in the last video, so just go and watch the last, pause this one, go and watch the last video for a minute of me cleaning this stuff off with a Dremel. When that's finished, come back and press play on this one. Right, so what's happened is I've actually run out of these things now, but I've got the vast majority of it. There is still a bit of paint and stuff hidden in some corners that I still to get out, but that's as much as I can do on that one for today. Looking much cleaner, much nicer. Lovely. Right, on with the plastic casing. Right, so here we are, one nice and clean engine casing. Not too worried about the inside because that's not going to be seen, but that's outside, all nice and clean, degreased, so it's nice and so ready for painting, I reckon. Which will be the next job, not today though, but yeah, job done, nice and clean. Right, there we go. That's it for another episode of Hooner's Shed. Engine casing's done. They're ready for I've got to get the cylinder rebored, and then I'm going to paint all of the engine casings. I've got to get some acetone, nail varnish remover to properly clean the engine. Thanks for the tip there again, Peter. Much appreciated. I couldn't nick my girlfriend's. I value my fingers too much. Plastic casing came up very well. Quite chuffed with that one. It's now been degreased and it's all nice and clean and smooth and everything else. It's a little bit too smooth, and I think what I'm going to need to do is get some of the wet and dry that I've got and just go over it, just scuff it up a bit, just score it to give the paint something to key into, to hold onto. Otherwise I guess it's just going to flake. So we'll do that on the next one. You haven't seen much of the other bike, the FJ that I brought over, for one very good reason. I know I said I was going to rat it, and I still plan on ratting it. The reason that you haven't seen it is because I haven't done any work on it. And the reason that I haven't done any work on it is I can't find the keys. I have absolutely no idea where they've gone. But as soon as I can find those, then I said I'm running out of things I can do for free on the TZR at the moment. Because most of the stuff now requires a financial outlay. The forks require cash to get the parts for those. The engine, that's going to require cash for the bearings and cash for the rebore and everything else. That's starting to cost money. There's a few other bits and pieces, like I said, I can do that don't cost any money. Things like I've still got the brakes; they're all still connected. They're all still in one piece. So handle, hose, and calipers, they're still in one piece. I can strip those down and clean them up and get them ready to be put back on again. But that means I'm going to have lots and lots of brake caliper parts floating around in these little boxes, and I've got enough of these boxes already. So if I can keep them together as they're just all connected for as long as possible, then it means I've got everything in one place, and I haven't got a bit of it over here, a bit of it over there. I'm trying to reduce these little Tupperware boxes that I have with all the parts in them as much as possible. So I'll crack on with the FJ. I think with the FJ, what I'm going to need to do is get it for an MOT first, and then see where we go for there. I know there's a few issues. It's going to need some new tyres. The clutch slave cylinder that's gone, and it's drained all the brake fluid down the side of the engine and stripped all the paint off, and it looks quite nasty. So I know I need to get that fixed and a few other bits and pieces, but as soon as I find the keys, I shall crack on with that one as well. That's everything up to date. I could do a tidy up, but I'm tired and it's knackered, and that's probably what I'll do tomorrow. If I get a chance to come over tomorrow, it'll probably just do the tidy up the garage, but I'm going to go and get some food. So thanks for tuning in. Ride safe, and I'll see you on the next episode of Hoonish Show.